So we have a good turnout for today's webinar. I wanted to go over a few different opportunities for some planning at various levels. As you are all aware, our planning is day by day. So with numbers increasing in Ontario, we don't know where that leaves us. We are continuously working together in terms of the changes that are happening in the province and what that means for us, what that means for events, what that means for synchro, what that means for connecting, different things like that. So we have done our best at this current time to put together some ideas for some season planning and to let you guys know what our intent as a sports organization is to be able to provide for you and for your teams. So we're going to start off with our beginner 1, beginner 2, and elementary teams. So these teams are part of the LTAD, the Learn to Train stage of development. Focus for skaters at this level is about training and developing fundamentals with a gradual introduction to competition. I've just included the requirements there for the beginner 1, 2, and elementary teams in case there are any clubs on. Having said that, as per the LTD, at the point of entry, which would be our beginner teams, and at earlier phases of the Learn to Train stage, the emphasis really should remain on technical development and training time with minimum time spent on competition. So at the entry point, 1 competition per year, progressing gradually to between 2 and 4 is sufficient for these levels. So having said that, Skate Ontario's intent for the season is to provide teams at these levels with 1 competition experience or event. And our goal for that would be March 2021. So based on that, these levels of teams should be able to maintain a status quo season. Their first event that they may attend or their event that they may attend might be a little bit later in the season than they're used to. But we do have a few questions for you. So I am going to do a poll. So if we have any coaches who are beginner 1, beginner 2, and elementary on, if you could answer the question, the first poll question for me. So the first poll question would be, because of the levels of these teams being beginner 1, beginner 2, and elementary, do they still require 16 weeks? 16 weeks to prepare for an event. So I'm going to put an option as 6. Okay, so I'm going to put an option as yes or no. So in your opinion, if you still, because of the levels of teams, they're not our higher level teams, if you feel that they still require 16 weeks once they can connect in order to prepare for an event. So I'm going to launch that poll. Okay, so thanks guys for those of you who are answering in the group chat. We'll keep those as well, but we also have a poll. So if everybody wants to answer in the poll. So kind of what we were thinking, I think the general consensus is that for the majority anyways, we do have 1 or 2 yeses, but we have so far 25 plus. If I'm not sure if the people in that entered their answers in the group chat have entered it in the poll as well, but we do have quite a few no's. So that is what Lauren and I were thinking as well. So I will ask another question. So we are going to do one more. Okay, so our next question for you guys was, if you said no, how many weeks do you feel you would need to prepare for an event once connected? So I'm going to put up a poll. And our options for our answers, I'm gonna say, is it 6 weeks? Is it 8 weeks? Is it 10? Is it 12? Is it 14? So I will launch that poll and you can answer there. There you go. Okay, I have a good comment here from Andrea. Thanks. So if you can attach by January, you could be ready. So that is based on sort of the 8 to 10 weeks out, and everybody seems to be pretty much in agreement with that. So having said that, at this level with our beginner 1 and 2 and our elementary teams, I am going to ask one final question. So have teams at this level moved ahead with choreography in anticipation of being able to hold on or being able to connect in the near future? So I'm going to add that question in, and then you guys can answer in the poll. So we're just going to have a yes or no. If you have already begun for the beginner 1, beginner 2, and elementary teams, if you have already started choreography for those teams. Okay, so majority is saying no. So still, with not having started choreography, everybody still feels that that 8 to 10 week out mark is safe once you're able to connect, in order for you to do your choreography and prepare for an event. So this is very helpful information for us when we are planning. So I see some yeses in the chat group. So again, even if you haven't started choreography, once you're able to connect, you can do choreography and prepare a beginner 1 or 2 or elementary team for an event within the 8 to 10 week mark. Yes? Okay, great to know. Thank you guys for that. I'm going to go back to sharing my screen and we will continue with our presentation. Okay. So plan B is if we were unable to offer a competition experience or event in person, that we would be willing to discuss options of offering one virtually so that they would still have an opportunity for an event. If we are able to host one in person, we may consider adding one virtually, providing 2 competition opportunities for perhaps the elementary teams that are out there, as those are sort of at the end of this learn to train stage, and trying to provide them with another opportunity would be beneficial to those teams. Okay, so we went through a few performance and development opportunities for beginner 1, beginner 2, and elementary. These are just ideas. We would love your input. So I'm going to give you some ideas after each sort of level, and then at the end we're going to come back to this, and I would really love to hear from you guys and from the community in terms of what you're doing with different ideas that you're doing with your teams now to help keep them engaged and focused. So for a beginner 1, beginner 2, and elementary team, in October the focus is on fundamental development, doing lots of skills classes, power classes. For an off-ice seminar, you could perhaps do a nutrition class. So we are suggesting 1 per month of performance and development opportunities. This is maybe a lot. A few before Christmas and a few after would be great. Whatever you can fit in, as we know that even getting them on the ice that 1 time a week is sometimes a challenge. So for November, you could do possibly an off-ice, learning what the turns are, doing an on-ice learning of what the turns are, skill development, skills competition amongst skaters on the team. Motivational sessions as an off-ice option in December, possibly a holiday showcase with your club, so an in-club event. In January, we are going to continue with their skill development, which is always a large portion at this level of their training. Add in a skill session, maybe with some of the older skaters from the club or a guest coach. In preparation for that March event, we might have a simulation in February, and in March, our intent being hosting an event and skill sessions leading up to tryouts, and then come April, everybody's fingers crossed that we are kind of getting back to normal and tryouts for the following season. So those are just some ideas, but again, I'd like to come back and I want a couple coaches to please speak up and let us know kind of what you're doing with your various levels of teams in terms of the same idea, in terms of performance and development opportunities, while we await more information on what's going to happen with their event. So if we move on to, okay, pre-juvenile, juvenile, and pre-novice. So we have the requirements there for the teams, which coaches are aware of. Skate Ontario's intent for this season is to provide teams at this level, so the pre-juvenile, juvenile, and pre-novice, with 2 competition experiences or events, hopefully one in February, one in March. Based on that, this level of team should be able to maintain a status quo season. I would think that these teams are generally doing more 3 to 4 events a season. Again, the plan B is if we were unable to offer a competition experience or event in person, that we would look into options of offering them virtually. If we can hold an event in person and we can do additional events virtually, we would do that as well. So I do have the same idea for coaches out on our call today who are pre-juvenile, juvenile, and pre-novice coaches. If you can answer the same questions we just answered in our previous polls. So I'm going to put them in the poll. I'm going to stop sharing my screen and I'm going to run my polls here. So because of the levels of teams, pre-juvenile, juvenile, and pre-novice, do you still require the 6 weeks to
16
16 weeks, 6 weeks, 16 weeks to prepare? So let me just enter this in my poll and then you can answer. That way it's just easier for us to track. Just bear with me for a minute here. All right. Okay, go ahead. The poll should be there. Okay, so we have a little bit more of a mixed opinion on this. So we have about 50-50. Some say that yes, they still want the 16 weeks to prepare for an event once connecting. So because we're kind of 50-50 on that, that's definitely something we will take back and look at. Jess says 12 to 14 weeks. Thank you for that, Jess. As long as we're all together on the same time, it is reasonable. MK agreed with Jess, so thanks guys for that. No need to ask sort of how many weeks you're looking at. Everybody's kind of a bit split. 16 weeks to prepare, but what I am curious with is if teams at this level have started, if teams at this level have started choreography. So I'm going to put that up, and that way that can give us an idea. Okay.
And good point, Stephanie. Definitely depending on the hours together. So if a few of you could just write in the chat box just to help us out on, in this level, how many times ideally are you guys on the ice, and how many times are you right now on the ice in this situation?
So I totally agree, Jess. And that's why we were asking this question about if choreography has started, because we do agree that choreography can begin without holding on, without connecting. So that is definitely something that teams can be doing. Now, I understand also that some teams may be hesitant to do that, because if in the end we are unable to provide any events due to COVID, and you know, we end up being shut down again as a province or whatever the case may be, then perhaps the hesitation is that, you know, financially and from a budget standpoint, teams are not wanting to spend the money on new program, choreography, that sort of thing. So that could be a factor as well. So what about off ice outside? Because I know even with some other sports that I'm involved in, that a lot of the off ice is happening outside. Is that what people, because I'm seeing a lot of comments that no off ice is available, but are some clubs doing off ice outside? So we've got some yeses. So definitely something to look into. Meredith, a quick question. I'm not sure if this is a reality for other teams, but if we have sort of melded age groups this year, if suddenly we are allowed to hold on and attend an event, will we have some flexibility on the ages in the events? So great question. That's definitely a Skate Canada question. So I can take that back for sure. I love how much you guys are offering. I just have to scroll back up because the questions are coming in so quickly, but this is great. So Meredith, something I can look into for sure. Are you talking like similar to how they made an age allocation for juniors, something similar to that? I can look into that for sure. Maracuju twice a week on ice, no off ice. So MK, why not any off ice happening outside? You aren't in a neighborhood that you can do off ice in. Okay. Fair. We have planned our season for skill building and not choreography, so we have age groups combined. Great. So Lorraine, plan B or plan C, depending on what we're offering, is always decide now as a club or as an organization that there's too much uncertainty and structure your budget accordingly and use that time to develop the skaters. So the big thing here is I have heard some feedback from some coaches that their skaters are saying, this is too risky. We don't know what's going to happen. We'll put our money, our extra money and skill development just into our singles. So we're trying to not have that happen. So we want our clubs and teams and coaches to develop skill development plans so that the kids can stay in the synchro program and develop their skills for the following season. So that is ideally the goal. Jen, no off ice due to restrictions of space. Okay. They're on the ice less than usual to keep costs down. Absolutely no off ice rooms. We have access to a room, but only half a team at a time due to restricted numbers in one space. Very common. Off ice is not recommended outside our facility. Lisa, if you don't mind unmuting yourself. So off ice is not being allowed at the rink outside. I have another comment from Jess, same sort of thing.
Yeah, so in our neighborhood, you can't gather in the parking lot. You can't go outside the main doors. You just can't.
Yep. Okay. Good to know. Andrea, so working on skills and a bit of choreography is motivating for the skaters. Absolutely. I think that little taste of choreography in a new program is what's keeping them going. So great question there. So I will go back to Meredith's question. Someone wanted me to revisit that. So okay, so absolutely, I need to go to Skate Canada on that. So I don't know if they would change the ages. If I'm not understanding that question correctly, Meredith, just pop on and you can ask it speaking, but definitely I can go to Skate Canada and make that suggestion to them. I know they are planning on having a working group for synchro, and that that I'm going to be involved with that when it does come on. So anything like this is great feedback for Skate Canada to have. Meredith,
yeah,
are you there?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can. Hi.
Yeah, okay, thanks. Thanks for organizing this today, by the way.
No problem.
Yeah, we've essentially merged groups just to make things more efficient and kind of assumed a skills season. If it were to switch and we could participate in an online season, we would have a problem that we don't actually fit into a category right now. And I don't think we're the only team like that. So
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't know how to accommodate it, but anyway, that's kind
Okay,
of
awesome. I will absolutely take that back. I think it's a great, you know, a great suggestion, and I think it's definitely something that we can look into. So, yep, I'll take that back to Skate Canada this week for sure. So in terms of off ice outside, Rebecca, I see weather's an issue for sure. Committing to ice with the town. I know everyone's a little hesitant, especially on the timing of this. Commitments for ice time to the town were weeks ago, right? So everyone's a little hesitant to add additional ice if we aren't going to compete this season, and we fully understand that. Okay, so let me just see if I have any more questions quickly.
And I think for our side, the point of this, getting everyone together and discussing kind of where you are in your season. We know that every club, every team, every individual is going to feel differently about this. We just kind of want to put together a plan for us on our side, what we hope to provide for you. But that doesn't mean that you guys have to do everything that we are providing. You can decide with your team, you can decide with your club. This is just a skill development year. Go ahead and keep your team together, keep your kids motivated, keep your kids skating. Yes, Meredith, definitely the FOMO is going to be bad for all of us, but we're going to do the best we can to provide as many opportunities as we can. If that doesn't happen, the worst possible thing we want to see is teams folding. So we just want to keep the engagement really high and really strong.
Yeah, and exactly, Lauren, and that's back to the whole, developing, if it's a skill development season, so be it, but developing a skill development program that those kids are going to want to stay in that discipline and not choose to do it as extra singles time or that sort of thing. Okay, so Andrea, I love this. We're going to be looking at Zoom for off ice. All our fitness, dance, flex classes are on Zoom. Right. Why are we not going back to Zoom? We may be looking at doing off ice choreography via Zoom as well too. Amazing. Just an option for teams, as we also don't have any indoor outdoor space. And also because a lot of teams are maybe using less ice time. So I do love that idea, is maybe take some choreography and do that on Zoom, because not everybody has their full ice availability to them. So great ideas. Thank you for that, Andrea. So yes, we're trying to avoid losing skaters to singles. Even if it's just a development season, we want those development programs coming from synchro. I know some of the ideas was, it's the synchro organization or the synchro team that runs extra skill development sessions, but that the whole club can benefit from them. So that's something to look at as well. Maybe other skaters from the club can come and they can do extra skills development sessions with the synchro organization, especially right now when they're not holding on. So maybe some negativity from outside coaches who aren't in the synchro community can be they don't want their skaters doing that holding on. Well, there's no holding on right now. So here we are, Meraki, Gold Ice, whoever we are, we're going to offer extra skills development sessions, and you can invite the other kids from the club to come do it. So just having some brainstorming ideas like this is helpful in order to try and keep that going at all the synchro clubs. So Erin, it will prove difficult to keep engagement and morale high if there isn't a decision made across the board for everyone. Yes, absolutely. So again, yeah, I agree. We're not there. We're not at the cancel the whole season point. And I don't think as a group, I can put a poll up for that, to be honest, but I don't think as a group that we're necessarily quite there. I know keeping the morale high and the engagement, we're just asking to keep going on with them for another couple weeks and see if we can get anything further ahead. Unfortunately, we were further ahead with the holding on request to the government probably before the numbers started increasing. I wish we had snuck in and got an answer then. But we didn't. And now that the numbers are increasing, we've heard other organizations be told that now with the numbers increasing, they're not necessary. It's not top of the pile for them right now to look at that. Stephanie, I have had an idea for a while. Motivation for the season, traveling circles. We can work on turns or not. No hold as well. Moves in isolation. I think we could do a virtual competition, which might keep skaters engaged. This is an uncertain time. Love it. There are so many things that we can do, not holding on. And perhaps not even waiting, Lauren, something to think about, put in your events notes, not even waiting to hold on, to think about holding an event. Why can't we do, elements, no hold elements, and have submit videos of your team doing no hold elements and having virtual competitions that way. Stephanie, I love that. It's awesome.
Absolutely. And Amanda and I have been talking about different ways. Even the ice that we've unfortunately canceled, trying to keep a little bit of it for teams to come in and do some monitoring sessions of just no holds, just skills, get the kids on the ice, but more of that to come.
Yeah, absolutely. We are looking at virtual monitoring opportunities in the next couple of months. So yeah, MK, I love it. element competitions and full no hold program events. Yep, great idea. So we can start looking into some of that stuff. And that's the engagement piece, right? That's what's going to keep these kids engaged. There are some of these happening in the US that Lauren and I have been following. Lauren's been following them great and keeping me posted on those. So we will look at what some other places are doing, and we'll definitely look into having something like that. Joanne says that is a great idea. We could call elements so that the teams know how they're doing. Absolutely. Love it. I'm just going to go back to sharing my screen quickly here, and we can just keep going on with the presentation. This is the one. Okay. So again, for the pre-juvenile, juvenile, pre-novice, thank you for answering those poll questions. That helps a lot. Again, our plan B would be if we are unable to offer a competition experience or an event in person, would be to offer them virtually. So we've got an idea of how much time. It seems like with pre-juve, juve, and pre-novice, you guys are still looking kind of close to that 16 weeks. And I bet you the other 50%, because it was pretty much 50-50, is just a little bit under that. It's definitely going to be more than the younger teams. Okay, so again, we're going to come back to this performance and development opportunity screen, but same sort of thing. 1 a month is ideal. If you can get a few in before and a few after, you can do these on Zoom too, don't forget. So parent and skater information meetings, you can do them on Zoom. If you do a nutrition class, you can do it on Zoom. If you do a motivational class, you can do it on Zoom. Focus in August and September, I'm sure was fundamental development, skills classes, power classes, etc. Choreography was a question mark there, which we talked about. Seems about half the teams at this level have moved ahead with choreography. Again, a learn the turn, good education for the kids to figure out what a rock or a counter or a bracket, all that stuff is, learn them on the ice. Maybe some skills competitions amongst the skaters on the team. We as a sports organization will also commit to seeing about doing something virtually for the teams around those months. December, participating in an in-club event, such as a holiday showcase. January, in preparation for our February event, holiday showcase, monitoring simulation in January in preparation for that event in February, an event in March, and then again back to the drawing board in April for our tryouts for the following season. So this brings us to novice, intermediate, and open. These 3 categories are a little more challenging. We do not know the fate of nationals. We are waiting for Skate Canada to make that announcement. So in singles and pairs and dance, these categories, the equivalent to these categories, are not participating in the Challenger Nationals, and they are hosting an event, a national event for them in March. I inquired to Skate Canada if these teams do not participate in the national event in February, if Skate Canada may consider having an event for them in April for these categories. Skate Canada did not say no. They brought it to the drawing table, and they said, and we are now waiting on Skate Canada to confirm if that's a possibility. So some information I need from you guys, and we definitely don't need to do it in a poll because it's probably something you guys are going to want some time to think about. So if these 3 levels end up doing an event in April, a national event, we at Skate Ontario want to know how many competitive experiences would the teams like leading up to a national event in April. Feel free to enter in the chat box if this is something that comes to you very quickly. And then we want to go back and figure out how we provide you with 2 or 3 or 4 competitive experiences leading up to the national event in April, if that is a thing. So we've got a couple options here. So option A, if there is no national event, a development season with X number of competition experiences anyways, just a part of the development. But having said that, that would require programs, choreography, all that sort of thing. Option B, if there's no national event, strictly a development season with no choreography. So I am curious, and I will ask that for the coaches on the call of the novice, intermediate, and open, how many teams have already moved ahead with choreography? So I'm going to stop sharing. I'm going to enter that in a poll. So how many teams have started choreography? Or have you started choreography? Yes or no? Okay. You can go ahead there. Okay. Okay, I've got a couple comments back over here. So just to touch on this this topic. So monitoring feedback would be great. Awesome. We will definitely provide some opportunities like that. An event in April for Novice Intermediate Open would be great. I agree. 100% with the delayed season, we're planning for it now. The main thing is we will all be the same, so we were all going through it together for sure. So everybody's going to be allowed to connect at the same time, right? So nobody's going to have an advantage or anything like that. So in terms of competitions, okay, some would like to see 2 leading up to a national event. Some have started programs, some are working on no hold elements, traveling circles. Novice and intermediate have started choreography, 100%. Team Unity, we have started. Awesome. So we've got a lot of positive, and in the poll it shows too that the majority of teams have started in anticipation of something happening there. So that's great to know. So I will continue. If you guys are in support of the national event in April, I can continue to bring that to the table with our working group. Just 1 or 2 events, or 1 event and 1 monitoring leading up to nationals. Cool. Good to know. Okay, awesome. MK, I'm not sure. So would this be a Skate Canada thing or amongst ourselves, just in Ontario?
Sorry, my kids are really loud in the background. I was thinking more probably Ontario, just because I think other levels in like other places in Canada might be able to hold on before we are. But if Ontario is held back and not allowed to hold on, like connect, would you consider hosting an event with like a standardized size of prop or something like that?
Yeah, so what are you guys using? Hula hoops, pool noodles, that sort of thing?
That
Fly
idea,
swatters,
yeah,
I've
I've
heard.
got
What was that, Lauren?
I've heard some fly swatters out there.
Fly swatters, PVC pipes from Andrea. Okay, definitely something that we could talk about internally. And again, that goes back to the engagement piece, right? So that goes back to, yeah, so if that's going to excite the kids, keep them motivated, give them something to work for, regardless of what that takes. If it means they have to use their props, maybe we make a standard prop, like it's a however long pool noodle, go, whatever the case may be, right? So something to think about for sure. Carol, I know I had thought of that as well. So winter ice is done after March. Nationals in April makes it a little tricky. But if you know early enough, you could work it out, definitely. And we thought of that for our March event for the beginners too, because some of those guys, we thought late March for that beginner event, but some of them are done by then. So yeah, we're keeping an eye on the schedule and what ice people typically have for sure. Thanks for that, Carol.
And I hope that decision will come from Skate Canada sooner rather than later, for sure.
Yeah, definitely. I was going to share, but I'm going to go back and read that comment. Oh, Wendy just wants to have props forever. Woo! Props for life. Lisa, you guys too, you can make it work. Yeah, I think that could be something fun we can work on for sure. Okay, I'm going to go back to sharing here. That's not what I want to share. Okay. Again, if you want to think about as we start knowing more about novice, intermediate, and open, as we get some more answers from Skate Canada on what they're going to do in terms of a national event, we can build from there. So stay hopeful, stay positive. Similarly, we're going to come back and discuss the performance and development opportunities. We won't go through these. They're very similar to what we talked about before. The timing on things changes, parent meetings, skating meetings, all those things probably happened in August or earlier. we're probably in a skill development conditioning on and off the ice for those who can do off ice. Maybe something fun to do in November to keep that engagement up, or even October, skills competitions amongst the skaters on the team. Again, as Skate Ontario, we'll commit to seeing if we can do something fun and virtual for you guys in those months, early months. December is monitoring and simulating possibly a holiday showcase at the club in preparation for your event in January. I figured you guys would want about 3 is kind of what we thought. So I've got like a January event, a February prep event, and I've got the typical nationals that typically happen in February there with a question mark, but I'm highly doubtful that that will necessarily be a thing for these levels, but we'll wait on Skate Canada to make that announcement. Possibly a national prep event in March, and then our maybe, hopefully, fingers crossed, national event in April, following tryouts for the following season, followed by tryouts for the following season. So that's kind of some performance and development opportunities for those levels, but we will come back because I'd like to have some discussion on those. So talking about our adult teams, so Skate Ontario's intent for the season is to provide adult teams with 1 to 2 competition experiences and events, likely in February or March, again, based on when we can connect, okay? So based on that, these teams should be able to maintain a status quo season of some sort. It's not going to look exactly, our season's not gonna look, for no level, beginner all the way up, is not looking like it did in the past, but we're trying to keep things as similar as possible for the teams. So I have some questions, and I think we have a lot from a lot of adults on our call. So the 3 questions I'm going to ask in the poll is how many teams have decided to do a strictly development season. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen. I'm going to go to my polls. How many adult teams? Okay. Okay, so I've launched the poll there. Have you as an adult team decided to do strictly development seasons? Okay, 50-50. Okay, good to know. So we've got some adult comments here. So Trinity's looking for only virtual competitions for adults. So that's another good point. Have some of these adult teams said they want events, but only virtual. That is very important for us to know. To be very honest with you, we debated back and forth a little bit about just doing virtual for adults, but we weren't sure that that's what everybody wanted. We thought they may want some in-person events. If that's a general consensus, please make some notes in the chat box there. Wendy says she's unsure as of yet, only skills at this point. So developing, working on no hold elements and traveling circles, skill development, starting with skills with the option to shift to a program if the season progresses. Awesome. Many of the adults are unwilling to hold on, including props, and we're doing a no hold program. So that is very, that could be an adult thing for sure. So we need to hear from you guys on that. Adult coaches, please talk to us about that. So that all 4 Team Unity adult teams have started new programs and are tracked to compete in December. We're not using props. Not running A3 at this time until skaters can attend. Okay, so we have a little bit of different things going on there. The option of a virtual event is a possibility. Yeah, and then of course in person a little bit later in the season if we can, definitely. So some are finding it hard to get adults to commit to coming on the ice. They've lost many skaters. So I think adults are cautious about the common cold as it affects time off work, kids needing COVID tests before returning to school, et cetera, et cetera. So there are, I think in the adult community, it's going to be a little bit different. I think what we may do based on this feedback is maybe, Lauren, we can explore a virtual opportunity first and revisit this in the new year and see where our adults are at and see where we're at, essentially. Okay.
To some of the adult coaches out there that are a little bit more remote than some of the ones have been answering, are you having trouble also getting ice, or is it strictly adults are a little bit more wary to commit, as Nicole said? Can't get ice.
Can't get ice. I can't see the comments anymore because I'm sharing. So Lauren, what is it they're saying?
Yeah, a few can't get ice, some are not committing. Ice time, a huge issue.
Okay.
That's fair.
Yep, for sure. Okay. Okay, so great feedback about adults. That's really good for us to know moving forward for sure. Okay, so I'm going to just reference here our performance and development opportunities, and I'd like resource, which is on our Skate Ontario website. And I'd like to start, if anybody has been doing any performance and development opportunities with their teams that either we didn't mention or you'd like to include, please feel free to unmute yourselves. I'd love to hear from you guys. So this is our performance and development opportunity information. It's available on the Skate Ontario website. This is a good one because it's a yearly planning view. We have discussed, and I've been in discussions with Sharon, we will be adding some more synchro specific opportunities to these documents and resources in the future. So we will be making this a little bit more synchro friendly down the road. But really, if we look at this, prep and information sessions, that applies to all disciplines, skills development sessions, that applies to all disciplines, motivational sessions, all disciplines. And it's kind of outlined based on the months. December, January, February, we're starting into simulations, feedback sessions, challenge days, motivational sessions, performance on opportunities, in-club events such as that holiday ice show possibly in December. And then we start getting into some events and it goes from there. So does anybody have anything that they've been doing with their skaters that they would like to comment on or bring up to us? You guys have a lot of great ideas. Stop sharing so I can see the. Anybody, please feel free to unmute yourselves.
Hi, it's Tara from Team Unity.
Hi, Tara.
How are you?
How are you? Good, how are you?
Lauren's smiling because she knows she's heard some of my.
Yeah, and I was waiting for you to unmute yourself, by the way, so thanks.
Okay, so
and Tara, I mean, for those that don't know Tara, do you just want to explain all the categories that you coach as well?
Sure. I have a beginner one, a pre-juvenile, a pre-novice, an intermediate, an adult one, 2 adult 2 teams, and an adult 3.
Just a few.
Yeah. So my rank is in Tavistock, one of my ranks, and their limit is like the 50 indoors. And so one of my ideas was to invite like a team. So like on one of my intermediates practice, maybe I invite Nexus to one of them, and then another practice we invite Meraki, and like Nexus would be up in the stands and we would be on the ice and we could do elements. They kind of have the first little bit of their program mapped out and we do everything not holding. And then the team upstairs could do like the old like 5.0, 6.0. We could come up with like different scorecards, different ideas as to like what to like mark ourselves on. And then Nexus would go on the ice and we would do the same. We could do some like fun things with it. I'm just starting to think about that. And then my other idea is the outdoor rink in Hamilton, which I want to do for adults. Obviously when it gets nice and cold out. And if we're still allowed 100 outdoors at some point, is to invite 4 or 5 adult teams and 4 or 5 adult 1 teams, and we could do that outside. And I've talked to a couple judges who said that they would think that that would be fun, and we can have a band out there and we can make it fun, even on a normal time, a normal year, it could be fun. So I am, and then the same with the virtual. Like I want to start doing more of sending virtual stuff to each other. Yes, Winter Classic, totally. Synchro Winter Classic. But I thought it could be fun, and we could do like an adult one night, an adult 2 night, an adult 3 night, or an idea for galas for teams that live in the Hamilton area. I think it would be a really great thing for people to do. So those are some of my ideas, and
Love it.
more coming.
Awesome.
Cool. Wendy said they've invited some guest coaches, which is awesome. No spectators allowed and only one team in the building allowed. I wonder if that would be different if it was the outdoor space. Definitely something to look into for sure. Okay, guys, we really, really appreciate all your feedback. This is such a great group to work with because you have so much input and are great with sharing that input. So, and it means a lot to us and helps our planning. So you guys are definitely very helpful for Lauren and I for sure. I have someone here who said they've made a COVID contingency plan where we will run the program from Google Classrooms classes, still skill development, fitness, goal setting, much of what we all did when we first shut down, but more structured and interactive. Absolutely. No spectators permitted in rinks. I'm seeing that come through a lot now. No spectators for us, and they hold everyone at the door until the previous session clears the building. So if you did something, you know, maybe you could do it on Zoom so that you could have people watching from home or that sort of thing. So that's an idea as well. Again, thank you. Lauren, any final comments?
I don't think so. I just, again, want to thank you all for joining, and we all know this is a really tough time, especially for synchro, and we just really want to keep everyone engaged and really motivated. And the last thing we want to see is, I mean, everything that we've been seeing now, cancellations of events is very hard for all of us. I miss running around and seeing all you guys, but we're going to do what we can. And the minute we know anything, we will let you guys know. Please, if you have an idea in your head, just shoot us an email and we can make stuff happen from our end. We'll do the best we can. But again, thank you guys so much for continuously showing up and keeping us motivated as well.
Absolutely. So Jess, we don't have a deadline in terms of if we're not attached by a certain date, we will postpone or cancel the season. We can definitely talk about that and come up with one for sure. Andrea, you're welcome. We thank you guys for all of your work and dedication to our sport, and we're a great team. So let's keep it going. And thank you all. Take care, stay safe, stay healthy. And we will chat with you guys as soon as we have any updates. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.